Hey everybody, Pixel here. Welcome back to another episode of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. In the last episode, we put together this terrible jar. This jar that I hate more than anything else in this entire series, and that includes Turnabout Samurai. So, in this episode, we're going to be hopefully wrapping up this investigation, and we're going to start, before I forget, by presenting the victim's note to Detective Gumshoe. Detective Goodman's note and that switchblade knife. I bet Edgeworth was the most surprised of anyone, because of the SL9 connection. That was Mr. Edgeworth's first big case, 2 years ago. That was the first time the world knew Edgeworth was a man to be feared. But why would evidence from that case turn up now? I guess it's not over, pal. Maybe there's some loose ends that left on that case. I think that much is obvious. Alright, so now we want to talk to him about the SL9 incident. Now that was a bloody, violent case. Violent, so it was a murder. A serial killing. A serial killing? Maybe I don't want to get involved in this after all. But the killer made a mistake and Mr. Edgeworth built his case around that to nab him. And this was 2 years ago? That put Mr. Edgeworth right in the spotlight and started the rumor mill. Rumors about forged evidence. It was supposed to be all cleaned up with the transferal the other day. It was the last job he ever did. Detective Goodman, that is. Huh? What do you mean? Detective Goodman was the detective in charge of the SL9 incident, see? So, that switchblade knife. The victim took the knife out of the evidence locker himself? Certainly seems that way, now doesn't it? Okay, now that we've done that, we are going to want to not present. We don't want to present. We want to go to court record. We want to use the luminol testing fluid. Alright, switched over this side. Spray this handprint, obviously. I knew it. This is someone's right handprint. What? What's the matter, detective? This locker, it's mine. It's yours? Please. You have to help me when they come to take me away. Promise you'll testify that I wouldn't harm a fly. You'll do that for me, won't you, pals? This is an important clue. I'll jot it down on the floor plans. I'm counting on you guys. Believe me, you can't trust the police. What? But you're a detective. Alright. Now I'm going to spray the floor. This is my second time recording this episode, by the way, so kind of in a rush to finish it. There must have been a massive amount of blood here. I've never seen so much before. I'm not a professional. What's your opinion, detective? Pale blue blood. Maybe Detective Goodman was actually an alien? This proves that something really happened in front of this locker. I'll make a note of it on the floor plans. Hey! If you didn't want my opinion, you shouldn't have asked. Alright. There is one more place where we need to spray. This super suspicious locker with a cloth hanging out of it. Why am I getting a reaction here? There's no reason for the murderer to touch the spot if he fled out the door. This just might be something significant. Hey, that's some pretty amazing stuff you got there, pal. What, this? It's called luminol testing fluid. Where'd you get your hands on that? Huh? I'd like to get some too. I'll just borrow $50 from the chief. Where do you get this, Emma? I always buy it by mail order. Well, I'd better jot this down on the floor plans. I want to be able to buy some too. Hey, pal, look at the time. Was there something you needed to be going to? It's just that Mr. Edgeworth's inquiry committee should be letting out soon. I'm gonna go give them my report for the day. It might help you, Report? You mean the note written on the back of that flyer? The one that says nothing but no problems? Hey, it's Mr. Edgeworth we're talking about. I'm sure he can use a report like this. I believe in him. Who needs enemies when you got friends like Detective Gumshoe? I'm off, pal. Later. Should probably see what Edgeworth has to say too. Okay, so obviously now we want to move to Edgeworth's office. Hi, Jake from State Farm at 3 in the morning. I'm recording this at 6 p.m., but you know, you get the reference. And if you don't, hi 7-year-old, welcome to YouTube. Probably check a more wholesome channel. Ah, guess. My apologies. Oh, it's you. Have we met somewhere? Huh? Mr. Edgeworth, I beg your leave, so long. Is Edgeworth here? There, standing by the window, a teacup in his hand. Oh, it's you. He has the hotel bringing tea service? Mr. Edgeworth, you're back from the district prosecutor's office inquiry? Precisely. By the way, Detective Gumshoe was looking for you. Oh yes, he brought me some information, it seems. Really? Was it helpful? Apparently, a new French restaurant is opening near here. I think he was trying to console me somehow. I think the report is on the other side, Edgeworth. Poor Mr. Edgeworth. I think this whole thing is really taking it on him. Well, no duh, he's gonna get fired. Okay, so I want to speak with him about the inquiry committee. So how did the inquiry committee go? Actually, they decided to treat this not as a case of concealing evidence, but as a communication error during the investigation. Concealing evidence? Yes, apparently there are some who believe that I concealed evidence. They gave me a warning. You were lucky this time. Again. Again? I've heard them say that so many times. Ever since that case 2 years ago. Tomorrow's trial. Are you okay for the trial tomorrow? Well, I'm still the presiding prosecuting attorney, however, something happened. They gave control over the investigation over to the police department. Police department? Yes, any further investigation for the case will be directed by the Chief of Police Gant. I can do nothing but wait for his results. I see. Why, I ask you? Why? All along, I've done only what I believe is right. I have nothing to be ashamed of. But still... Wow, I've never seen him this out of sorts. Alright. Well, now I want to show him the Goodman's note. I know you. You've probably got a hold of some information already, right? It all has to do with that case you were on, the SL9 incident, and some dark suspicion you were wrapped up in. You're the man who revived the worst memory of my life, as I recall. I figured I'd be telling you about this sooner or later. A bad memory. He's talking about the murder in the elevator. Okay, Edgeworth, why don't you tell me about it? Tell me the truth. The SL9 incident was a heinous serial killing case. The head of investigation was the Deputy Chief of Police at the time, Damon Gant. That wacky-old coot was involved in the case 2 years ago then, too. He was the best we had, and it was my first time working with him. I was nervous. Wow, you get nervous too, Mr. Edgeworth? What I want to know is why was a Deputy Chief of Police on the investigation? In truth, I used slightly more extreme methods than normal. We were dealing with a vicious murderer. If I let him go, the blood would be on my hands. We won our guilty verdict and the killer was executed. Wait, you didn't? Of course not. I didn't touch the evidence. Yes, I will do anything in my power to win a trial. However, I do have a code and I follow it faithfully. Alright. There's one more thing we want to present to him. ID card report. Oh, right. I'd better check this now. As I was saying, What's this? A record of ID card usage? Edgeworth, you went into the evidence room that day, didn't you? Just before the incident occurred, no less. Yes, that's true. Why, Mr. Edgeworth? Please don't look at me like that. I was asked to go, by Chief Gant, no less. The Chief of Police? He wanted evidence for a case that wrapped up half a year ago. He told me he wanted to keep it here in the prosecutor's office. But it was solved, right? It would have to be if the evidence was already filed. The chief is never one to explain himself. In any case, on the day of the stabbings, I brought this back here. Can I ask what kind of case it was? I can't say. It really has nothing to do with the current case. Now I'm curious about this other case. I'd better make a note of it. Unrelated evidence added to the court record. Stubborn as always. I told you this has nothing to do with the current case. By the way, Emma, the chief prosecutor wanted to know something. My sister? What? You still working on that scientific investigation? Huh? Yes, of course. Why, just today Mr. Wright and I were using this. Luminol testing fluid, Well then, you might have use for this. Aluminum powder for taking fingerprints. It's been chemically treated for better adhesion. For me? Are you sure? We are the enemy, you know. I've no say in today's investigation. Do as you will. Edgeworth, I'm really... No need to thank me. Here, take your powder and these fingerprint files for everyone involved. Thanks. How about giving these to Detective Gumshoe as well? Well, let's get going. One last investigation. Right. I do seem to remember seeing a suspicious handprint somewhere. Alright, so now we are going to move to... Well, we're going to move to the prosecutor's office. Not the prosecutor's, I meant the police department. You move between these two places so often that you will always get them confused. And if there's anyone who doesn't, like, comment, and subscribe. Sector 3. Our investigation turned up a suspicious handprint. Here, in this blood on the detective's evidence locker. Let's use the secret weapon we just borrowed. Right. Let's get started. First, choose a finger. A finger? Each finger leaves behind a slightly different imprint. So let's choose the finger that will have left behind the clearest print. I really can't tell the difference at a glance. Quit procrastinating and choose a finger. Right, let's go with this one. Okay, now it's time to check for prints. Let me show you how it's done. Emma's starting to get that sparkle in her eyes. First, we sprinkle the aluminum powder around. Huh? How do you do that? Just touch the screen. See? Ah, it looks like that did the trick. The aluminum powder adheres completely to the print. Once the powder is well spread, just blow away the excess. Huh? How do I do that? You just blow with your breath. Imagine you're blowing out the candles on a birthday cake, see? Wow, that looks like fun. Might take some getting used to, though. It's fine. It won't go up your nose or anything. You just pour the powder on thick and blow away the extra. Those are the basics of fingerprinting, Mr. Wright. Guess I'd better give it a try. So what you're going to want to do, spread fingerprint powder around. And since I'm using emulator, I'm going to have to switch to the bigger screen and turn the mic on. So what you got to do is spread fingerprinting powder and blow it away. And that's pretty much how fingerprinting works in Ace Attorney. Aha! You did it! You found one! But this looks nothing like a fingerprint. Now that you mention it, I guess it doesn't. What does it mean? I think it means we're out of luck. Out of luck? The person who left this handprint must have worn gloves. Don't tell me we've been wasting our time here. Hey, calm down. That's just the way it goes sometimes with scientific investigations. But it does seem a shame. While we're at it, why don't we look for other prints? Other prints? Looking at the locker door again closely. Seems like there are fingerprints outside the bloody handprint as well. Let's see if we can find a clear print. Fingerprints outside the blood. So obviously this is the only one that will actually work. So let's spread the powder And since this lags on an emulator, I will see you guys when this is done. Yes, a print so clear it's dazzling. Dazzling? Anyway, the print took a lot of effort to find. Let's match it up right away. So we're not done yet? This is quite a process. Well, there's no point in finding a fingerprint and not knowing who the owner is, right? I guess she's right. Look at the fingerprint data we got from Mr. Edgeworth and point out the person who you think left these prints. I could make a pretty good guess. The bloody handprint and the fingerprints are in different places, right? That means that the prints probably don't have anything to do with our cases. So whose fingerprint would we most likely find on this evidence locker? The answer to that is quite obviously Dick Gumshoe. Tests are automatic. You don't need to do any, you don't have to look for it yourself. Match found. Aha! So these prints belong to Detective Gumshoe. Something wrong, Mr. Wright? You gave me this so what look. I guess that's probably because I was thinking, so what? Okay, so we came up with nothing this time, but there's always next time. Sometimes you hit, sometimes you miss. Gotta roll with the punches, Mr. Wright. To get to what's real. Thanks for the sympathy. Wait, if I remember correctly, there was one other handprint in this room. Let's check it out. And with that, you have to examine... this one is pretty obvious. You have to examine the locker with the flap in it. This is where we got a luminol fluid reaction, right? Right. There was a handprint here. Okay. Want to try using this? There goes our eye sparkling again. Let's check for prints. Okay, let's check for prints. That's the spirit. Oh, but I have to warn you about something first. What? The area with blood was wiped away, right? We only ended up finding it using chemical means. Any prints in that area will have been wiped away too. Oh, right. So that means no prints. Would you say the probability of your hypothesis is high? Don't ask me. Anyway, we must try to find prints that were wiped away. Prints other than the ones left by the bloody hand. Alright. So I'll show you where that is. You gotta check around this area. You have to check where his ring finger would be. And I'll see you guys after the fingerprint. And we want to compare this one to Jake Marshall. Hey, these fingerprints, whose are they? Whose? Is it someone I know? It's Officer Marshall. Huh? Officer Jake Marshall? Marshall's fingerprints out of the court record. That's gotta be a coincidence. He's not involved in the crime. Emma. This are decisively different from Detective Gumshoe's prints, as is this sentence decidedly different from the rest of this game's grammar. The luminol reaction. The blood and the fingerprints are in the same place. Oh. Oh! So we have Jake Marshall's fingerprints on a white bloodstain. But why would Officer Marshall? It looks like our investigation is finally turning up some results. I guess this is what you'd call decisive evidence. I don't believe it. To be continued. So next time on Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney Rise from the Ashes, we are going to be continuing, or not continuing our investigation. We'll be going into the second trial. Finally. I'll see you guys then. Bye.